The security footage was grainy but clear enough. Clear enough to show my husband Brandon sliding his hand across the table to hold another woman's fingers. Clear enough to capture him leaning in close, whispering something that made her laugh. Clear enough to show him kissing her knuckles before pulling out a manila folder. Clear enough to reveal him spreading documents across the restaurant table, pointing at lines and numbers while she nodded eagerly. Clear enough to show them both smiling, plotting, planning something that involved papers with my company's letterhead visible even through the pixelated screen. "Mrs. Richardson, I think you should sit down," Mr. Patterson said quietly, his weathered hand gesturing to the chair in his cramped office behind Giovanni's kitchen. The smell of garlic and tomato sauce filled the small space, usually comforting but now making my stomach turn. I couldn't sit. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else, but somehow they kept me standing as I watched my husband of 8 years destroy our life together in silent video footage. The timestamp showed last Tuesday, 7:43 p.m. The same Tuesday he told me he had a business dinner with clients. The same Tuesday I stayed late at my office finishing the quarterly reports. "Who is she?" My voice sounded strange, hollow. Mr. Patterson shifted uncomfortably. "I don't know her name, ma'am. But this isn't the first time they've been here. I've seen them together at least 6 times over the past few months. Always the same corner booth. Always lots of papers. Tonight they left about 20 minutes before you came back for your purse." 20 minutes. I had been 20 minutes away from walking in on them. 20 minutes from confronting Brandon right there in the restaurant. Instead, I had driven home, realized my purse was missing, and turned around. Such a small thing, forgetting a purse. Such a massive consequence. "Can you rewind to when they arrived?" I asked, my business mind kicking in despite the chaos in my heart. If I was going to process this nightmare, I needed all the information. Mr. Patterson nodded, his fingers working the controls. The footage jumped backward, then played forward from an earlier timestamp. 6:15 p.m. Brandon walked in first, wearing the navy suit I had picked up from the dry cleaners that morning. The woman followed seconds later. She was younger than me, maybe late 20s, with long dark hair and a bright red dress that hugged her curves. Pretty. Confident. She walked like she owned the world. They didn't kiss when they met. Too public, too risky. But the way they looked at each other told the whole story. This wasn't new. This wasn't casual. This was comfortable, familiar, intimate. "Can you forward to where they're looking at the papers?" I asked. Mr. Patterson complied. The footage jumped ahead. Now I could see Brandon pulling out document after document. Even through the grainy video, I recognized some of them. Financial statements. Bank records. Company contracts. My company's contracts. "Can you zoom in on the papers?" My voice was steady now. The initial shock was crystallizing into something else. Something cold and sharp. "The system's pretty old, Mrs. Richardson. This is as clear as it gets." But it was clear enough. Clear enough to see my signature on several pages. Clear enough to see columns of numbers. Clear enough to see both of them studying the documents with intense focus, their heads close together, her finger tracing lines while he took notes. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning something. Something that involved my business, my finances, my life's work. "Mr. Patterson, I need a copy of this footage. All of it. Every time they've been here." "Of course, ma'am. I can have my nephew burn it to a disk for you. He handles our tech stuff." He paused, his kind eyes full of concern. "Mrs. Richardson, I'm real sorry you had to find out this way. You and Mr. Richardson always seemed so happy when you came here together." Happy. Yes, we had seemed happy. We had been happy, or so I thought. Married at 26 and 28, both climbing our respective career ladders. Me with my marketing consultancy firm that I'd built from scratch, Brandon with his steady rise to CFO at a mid-sized investment company. We had a beautiful home in the suburbs, nice cars, vacation photos that friends envied on social media. We had talked about starting a family next year, once my business hit its 5-year milestone. All of it was a lie. Or at least it had become one somewhere along the way. "How long will the disc take?" I asked. "Give me about 15 minutes. There's a lot of footage to copy." "I'll wait." Mr. Patterson left me alone in his office. I sank into the chair I had refused earlier, my eyes fixed on the paused screen. The frozen image showed Brandon's face in profile, his expression animated as he explained something to the woman. He looked excited, energized, alive in a way I hadn't seen him look at home in months. When had it started? When had my husband become a stranger? When had he decided that our marriage, our life together, our shared dreams were worth throwing away? My phone buzzed in my coat pocket. Brandon's name flashed on the screen, Hey babe, heading home now. Want me to pick up dessert? The casual normalcy of the text message felt obscene. He was texting me about dessert while his affair and whatever scheme they were plotting was still fresh on the security footage. I typed back with shaking fingers, no thanks. Not hungry. See you soon. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, okay. Love you. Love you. 2 words that now felt like acid in my chest. I couldn't go home and pretend everything was fine. I couldn't sit across from him at our dinner table and act normal. But I also couldn't confront him, not yet. Not until I knew exactly what he was planning, not until I had protected myself. Mr. Patterson returned with a disc in a plain sleeve. Here you go, Mrs. Richardson. I included footage from all 6 visits I know about. If you need anything else, you just let me know. And ma'am, if you don't mind me saying, you deserve better than this. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. For everything. I took the disc and slipped it into my purse, the same purse I had forgotten that led to this discovery. Please don't mention this to anyone. Not your nephew, not your staff. No one can know I saw this. You have my word. I walked back through the restaurant on legs that felt steadier now. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by something more useful. Anger. Determination. Clarity. The dining room was still full of couples enjoying their Thursday night dinners, laughing over wine and pasta. Had any of them noticed Brandon and his mistress in the corner booth? Had anyone thought twice about the businessman and the woman in the red dress poring over documents? My car was still in the parking lot where I'd left it 15 minutes ago. 15 minutes that had changed everything. I sat in the driver's seat and gripped the steering wheel, trying to organize my thoughts. First, I needed to act normal tonight. Brandon couldn't suspect that I knew anything. Second, tomorrow I needed to find a lawyer, a good one who specialized in divorce and business. Protection. Third, I needed to figure out what exactly Brandon and his mistress were planning with my company's documents. The drive home took 20 minutes. Our house looked exactly as it always did, warm light glowing from the windows, Brandon's car already in the driveway. Picture perfect from the outside. Rotting from within. I grabbed my purse, the disc hidden inside, and walked to the front door. My hand was steady as I turned the key. My face was composed as I stepped inside. Hey, you found it? Brandon called from the living room. He was on the couch in sweatpants and a t-shirt, his work clothes already changed, a basketball game playing on the television. He looked relaxed, content, innocent. Yeah, it was right where I left it at the restaurant, I said, my voice normal. Easy. The lie came surprisingly naturally. Long day. I'm going to take a shower and head to bed. Want me to pause the game and come up with you? No, it's fine. Enjoy your game. I walked upstairs to our bedroom, into our bathroom, and closed the door. Only then did I let my carefully constructed mask slip. I looked at myself in the mirror. Same face, same eyes, same person I'd been this morning. But everything had changed. The woman looking back at me was no longer someone's trusting wife. She was someone who had seen the truth. Someone who had evidence. Someone who was going to make sure that whatever Brandon was planning would blow up in his face. I turned on the shower to mask any sound and pulled out my phone. I needed to find an attorney tonight. I needed to start building my case. I needed to beat Brandon at whatever game he was playing. Because if he thought I was going to roll over and let him destroy me, he had another thing coming. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction. I was going to take him down. Sleep didn't come that night. I lay next to Brandon in our king-sized bed, the same bed we picked out together 3 years ago, and listened to him breathe. Deep, even, peaceful breaths. The breathing of someone without a conscience. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the security footage. His hand on hers. The manila folder. The documents with my company's letterhead. The woman in the red dress. Over and over, the images replayed in my mind like a horror movie I couldn't pause. Around 3 in the morning, Brandon rolled over and draped his arm across my waist, pulling me close in his sleep. The gesture that used to make me feel safe now made my skin crawl. I carefully extracted myself and moved to the edge of the mattress, claiming I was too hot. At 5:30 a.m., my alarm went off. Brandon groaned and hit snooze on his side. I got up and went through my normal morning routine. Shower. Coffee. Check emails. Get dressed for work. I chose a blue blazer and matching pants, professional armor for what I knew would be a difficult day. You're up early, Brandon mumbled, appearing in the kitchen doorway at 6:15. His hair was messy, his eyes still half closed. Big presentation this afternoon, I lied smoothly. Want to get to the office and prepare. Always working so hard. He smiled and kissed my forehead. The same kiss he'd given me 1,000 times. Now it felt like betrayal. That's my girl. His girl. The words made me want to scream. Instead, I smiled back. Someone has to keep the business running. I'm proud of you, you know that? He poured himself coffee and leaned against the counter. Everything you've built. It's impressive. Everything I'd built. Everything he was apparently trying to take from me. Thanks, babe. I grabbed my purse, the disc still hidden inside. I might be late tonight. Don't wait up. No problem. I've got that client dinner anyway. Probably won't be home until 9 or 10. Client dinner. Right. I wondered if the woman in the red dress would be there. See you tonight then. I headed for the door, desperate to escape his presence. Naomi? Brandon called after me. I turned, my heart pounding. Did he know? Had I given something away? Love you, he said, that easy smile on his face. Love you too, I replied automatically, then walked out the door before he could see my expression crack. The morning commute was a blur. I drove on autopilot to my office building, a modest 3-story structure in the business district. Richardson Marketing Solutions occupied the entire second floor. 8 employees, 3 major clients, annual revenue of $1.2 million. My baby. My creation. Everything I had worked for since leaving my corporate job 6 years ago to start my own firm. And Brandon was plotting something involving it. I needed to find out what. I parked and sat in my car for a moment, gathering my thoughts. I couldn't break down. I couldn't let anyone at work see that something was wrong. I needed to be strong, focused, in control. Inside, I greeted my assistant Pamela with my usual smile. Morning. Can you hold my calls until 10? I have some urgent work to finish. Of course. Coffee? Already had some, thanks. I closed myself in my office and immediately pulled out my laptop. First order of business, find a lawyer. I searched for divorce attorneys in the area, focusing on those who also handled business disputes. Several names came up, but one stood out. Gloria Hayes. 52 years old, 25 years of experience, specializing in high-asset divorces and business protection. Her website featured testimonials from clients praising her aggressive representation and strategic thinking. Perfect. I called her office at 8 a.m. sharp. The receptionist answered on the second ring. Hayes Legal Group, how may I help you? I need to schedule an urgent consultation with Ms. Hayes. Today if possible. May I ask what this is regarding? Divorce and potential business fraud. The words tasted bitter but necessary. One moment please. I waited, my fingers drumming on my desk. After what felt like forever, the receptionist returned. Ms. Hayes has an opening at noon today. Can you make it? Yes. Absolutely. May I have your name and contact information? Naomi Richardson. I gave her my cell phone number, not my work line. Please don't leave voicemail messages. Text or email only. Of course. We understand discretion is important. We'll send you a confirmation text with the address. After hanging up, I pulled out the disc Mr. Patterson had given me. I needed to watch it again, all of it, and take notes. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I slid the disc into my computer's external drive and opened the files. 6 separate video files, each labeled with a date. The earliest was from 4 months ago. 4 months of meetings, 4 months of lies, 4 months of my husband systematically betraying me. I started with the first video. Brandon and the woman arrived separately, just like last night. They ordered wine and appetizers but barely touched the food. Instead, they talked intensely, their body language suggesting familiarity and comfort. No documents in this first meeting, just conversation. Getting to know each other? Planning something? I couldn't tell without audio. The second video 3 weeks later showed more of the same. But this time, Brandon pulled out his phone and showed her something on the screen. She leaned close to look, her hand on his shoulder. Intimate. Comfortable. More than business associates. By the third video they were kissing. Brief, careful kisses between courses, checking to make sure no one was watching. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself to keep watching. I needed all the information. The fourth video was when the documents started appearing. Brandon brought a folder, pulled out papers, spread them on the table. The woman studied them carefully, taking notes on her own pad. Whatever they were planning, it was getting serious. The fifth video showed more documents. This time, I could make out my company logo on several pages. My letterhead. My contracts. My financial statements. How had he gotten access to those? They were stored in my locked office filing cabinet. Then I remembered. Last month, Brandon had stopped by my office unexpectedly, bringing lunch. I had stepped out to use the restroom, leaving him alone in my office for maybe 5 minutes. 5 minutes was all he needed to photograph documents with his phone. The betrayal cut deeper. He had planned this, calculated it, used my trust against me. The sixth and final video was from last night, the one I had already seen. But watching it again with the context of the previous meetings made it worse. This wasn't a casual affair. This was a coordinated effort. They were building towards something. I took detailed notes on everything I observed. Times, dates, behaviors, documents visible in the footage. By the time I finished, it was 10:30 a.m. I had an hour and a half before my meeting with Gloria Hayes. I spent that time digging through my company's financial records. Everything seemed normal at first glance. But when I looked closer, I noticed small irregularities. Transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. Payments for services we never received. Nothing huge, nothing that would immediately raise red flags. But consistent. Steady. Over the past 3 months, approximately $40,000 had gone missing through these small transactions. My blood ran cold. Brandon didn't just have access to my documents. He had access to my accounts. Oh, then I remembered. 6 months ago, Brandon had suggested he could help manage some of the financial aspects of my business, take some pressure off me. He said his experience as a CFO could be useful. I had been touched by the offer, grateful for his support. I had given him login credentials to our business banking, making him an authorized user so he could help pay vendors when I was swamped. I had handed him the keys to rob me. At 11:45, I left the office, telling Pamela I had a lunch meeting. I drove across town to Gloria Hayes' office, a sleek glass building in the financial district. Her suite was on the 10th floor, tastefully decorated in cream and green tones. The receptionist, a young man with glasses, greeted me warmly. "Mrs. Richardson? Miss Hayes is ready for you. Right this way." Gloria Hayes' office was spacious and professional, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She stood when I entered, a tall woman with short silver hair and sharp eyes behind stylish glasses. She wore a green pantsuit that radiated authority. "Mrs. Richardson, please sit." Her handshake was firm, confident. "Tell me what brings you here." I sat and took a deep breath. Then I told her everything. The forgotten purse. The security footage. The woman in the red dress. The documents. The missing money. I pulled out my laptop and showed her the videos, showed her my financial analysis. Gloria watched everything in silence, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and steepled her fingers. "This is serious," she said finally. "You're looking at adultery, which matters in this state for divorce proceedings. You're also potentially looking at embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. The question is, what do you want?" "I want a divorce," I said without hesitation. "I want to protect my business. And I want him to pay for what he's done." "Good." Gloria smiled, and it wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator sensing prey. "Then let's get to work. First, we need to identify the woman. Second, we need to figure out exactly what they're planning. Third, we need to secure your assets before they can do any more damage. And fourth, we need to build an airtight case." "How do we do all that?" "We hire a private investigator. We get a forensic accountant to analyze your business finances. We document everything. And most importantly, you don't let your husband know that you know anything. Can you do that? Can you go home tonight and act like nothing is wrong?" I thought about lying next to Brandon last night, pretending to sleep while rage burned through me. "Yes, I can do that." "Then we have a chance." Gloria pulled out a legal pad and started writing. "I'm going to need you to sign some documents. Retainer agreement, confidentiality agreement, authorization for the investigator. I'll have my paralegal draw them up. In the meantime, I want you to change your business passwords immediately. All of them. Don't tell your husband. If he asks why he can't access the accounts anymore, tell him the bank required a security update. What about the money that's already missing? We'll document it, trace where it went, and use it as evidence. But don't confront him about it. Not yet. The more evidence we gather before he knows we're on to him, the better position we'll be in." I nodded, trying to absorb everything. It felt surreal, sitting in a lawyer's office discussing how to take down my own husband. "One more thing," Gloria said, her eyes serious. "This is going to get ugly. When we move against him, he's going to fight back. He's going to try to manipulate you, maybe try to convince you that you're overreacting or that he's sorry. Don't fall for it. Men like this, men who plan elaborate schemes to defraud their wives, they don't suddenly develop a conscience. They just get better at lying." "I won't fall for it," I promised. "I'm done being the fool." "Good. Then let's destroy him." I left Gloria's office 2 hours later with a folder full of documents and a concrete plan. I felt lighter somehow, like I had regained some control. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a woman fighting back. That evening, I went home and changed all my business passwords. Every single one. Banking, email, client portals, social media, everything. When Brandon came home at 9:30 p.m., I was on the couch watching television. "Hey babe," he said, kissing the top of my head. "How was your day?" "Good. Presentation went well." Another lie. "How was your dinner?" "Long, boring. The client talked for 3 hours straight." He loosened his tie and sat next to me. I'm beat. I wondered if the woman in the red dress had been there. I wondered what they had really been discussing. But I didn't ask. Instead, I just nodded sympathetically. "Want to watch something together?" he asked. "Sure." We sat there on the couch, watching a mindless sitcom, his arm around my shoulders. To anyone looking in from outside, we looked like a normal married couple enjoying a quiet evening. But inside I was already gone. Already 3 steps ahead. Already planning his downfall. Brandon fell asleep during the second episode. I carefully moved his arm and stood up. "Come on," I said softly. "Let's go to bed." He mumbled something and followed me upstairs, half asleep. Within minutes of hitting the mattress, he was snoring softly. I lay awake next to him, my mind racing. Tomorrow, Gloria's investigator would start following Brandon. Tomorrow, the forensic accountant would start analyzing my business finances. Tomorrow, we would start building the case that would end my marriage and save my business. I just had to hold on a little longer. Just had to keep pretending. Just had to survive sleeping next to the enemy. Detective Pierce didn't look like what I expected. When Gloria Hayes introduced us on Friday afternoon, I had pictured someone from a television show, all hard-boiled cynicism and trench coat. Instead, Pierce was a compact man in his mid-40s wearing khakis and a blue polo shirt, with kind eyes and an unremarkable face. The kind of face that would blend into any crowd, which I supposed was exactly the point. "Mrs. Richardson," he said, shaking my hand in Gloria's conference room. "I've reviewed the security footage you provided. Excellent starting point. Ms. Hayes has filled me in on the basic situation. I have some questions before I start surveillance." We sat around the conference table, Gloria taking notes while Pierce pulled out a tablet. "First, I need information about the woman. Any details you can give me." "I don't know her name. Late 20s, long dark hair, about 5'6". She wore a red dress in the most recent footage, but different outfits in the earlier videos. She carries herself confidently. Professional." Pierce nodded, tapping notes. "Do you know where your husband works?" "Sterling Investment Group. He's the CFO. Downtown office, 42nd floor." "And his typical schedule?" "Leaves home around 7:30, gets to the office by 8. Usually home by 6:30, unless he claims to have evening meetings. Those have been happening more frequently over the past few months." I paused, the realization hitting fresh. The affair started about 4 months ago based on the restaurant footage. The late meetings started around the same time. Consistent pattern. Pierce made more notes. "What about weekends?" "He plays golf most Saturday mornings. Says it's with colleagues." Another lie, probably. How many lies had I swallowed without question? Good. "Golf courses are excellent for surveillance and private conversations. I'll start following him tomorrow." Pierce looked up from his tablet. "Now about your business. Ms. Hayes mentioned possible embezzlement. Can you walk me through what you found?" I opened my laptop and showed him the spreadsheet I'd been building. Over the past 3 months, approximately $40,000 has disappeared through small transactions. 500 here, 1,000 there. Payments to vendors I don't recognize, transfers to accounts I never authorized. "Do you have the account numbers these transfers went to?" "Yes." I pulled the complete transaction history from our bank. "Excellent. I'll trace those accounts. With your permission, I'd also like to install monitoring software on your business computers. If someone is accessing your systems remotely, we need to document it. Whatever you need." Pierce spent the next hour asking detailed questions about Brandon's habits, our routines, our finances. He was thorough and professional, never judgmental. When we finished, he stood and gathered his materials. "I'll start surveillance tomorrow morning. I'll send daily reports to Ms. Hayes, who will forward them to you. If I find the woman's identity, we'll discuss next steps. In the meantime, continue acting normal at home. The moment your husband suspects you know something, this gets much harder." After Pierce left, Gloria walked me through the next steps. "The forensic accountant will start Monday. We need to document every penny that's missing and where it went. We also need to secure your business assets. How do I do that? We file paperwork making you the sole signatory on all business accounts. We remove your husband's access completely. We'll claim it's for tax purposes or insurance requirements. But we do it through your business attorney, not me, so Brandon doesn't connect it to divorce proceedings. I don't have a business attorney. You do now. Gloria slid a business card across the table. Richard Foster. He's excellent and discreet. Call him Monday morning. Tell him I referred you and that you need to restructure your business ownership immediately. He'll know what to do. I took the card, adding it to the growing stack of contacts in my purse. My life was becoming a collection of lawyers and investigators, all working to unravel the mess my marriage had become. There's one more thing, Gloria said, her voice gentler. How are you holding up? Emotionally, I mean. The question caught me off guard. I had been so focused on strategy and evidence that I hadn't really thought about my feelings. I don't know. I'm angry, hurt, confused, but also strangely numb. That's normal. You're in survival mode. But at some point the shock will wear off and the grief will hit. When it does, I strongly recommend therapy. I can give you some names. Maybe later. Right now I just need to focus on protecting myself. Fair enough. But don't ignore your mental health. This kind of betrayal, it leaves scars. Better to deal with them properly than let them fester. I promised I would consider it, though honestly, therapy seemed like a luxury I couldn't afford right now. I needed to be strong, focused, functional. I could fall apart later after this was over. That weekend was torture. Brandon was home both days, cheerful and attentive. On Saturday morning, he kissed me goodbye before heading to his golf game, promising to be home by noon. I watched him drive away, wondering if he was really golfing or meeting the woman in the red dress. Detective Pierce sent a text at 9:15 a.m. Subject arrived Meadowbrook Golf Club at 8:45. Playing with 3 men appears legitimate. We'll continue monitoring. So he was actually golfing. Small comfort. I spent the morning cleaning the house, a mindless task that kept my hands busy. Around 11 my phone buzzed. Pierce again. Subject finished golf. Stopped at coffee shop. Meeting woman from footage. Sending photos. My hands froze on the vacuum cleaner. 3 photos arrived in rapid succession. Brandon and the woman sitting at an outdoor table at a coffee shop. Her wearing jeans and a green sweater, looking casual and beautiful. Them holding hands across the table. Them kissing. The last photo was the worst. Not because of the kiss but because of the expressions on their faces. They looked happy. And loved. The way Brandon used to look at me. Another text from Pierce. Getting clear photos of woman's face. Will run identification. I set down my phone and finished vacuuming, my movements mechanical. Brandon came home at 12:30, whistling cheerfully. How was golf? I asked, my voice steady. Great. Shot 2 under par. The guys were impressed. He kissed my cheek. What do you want to do for lunch? I'm not really hungry. You go ahead. You feeling okay? You seem tired. Just didn't sleep well. Why don't you take a nap? I'll make us a nice dinner tonight. Maybe watch a movie later. Sure. That sounds good. He went into the kitchen, still whistling. I went upstairs to our bedroom, closed the door and sat on the edge of the bed. My hands were shaking. Not from fear or sadness but from pure rage. How dare he? How dare he cheat on me, steal from me and then come home and act like the perfect husband? How dare he kiss my cheek with the same mouth that was kissing her an hour ago? My phone buzzed. Pierce, woman identified. Vanessa Cole, age 29. Works at Morrison Financial Services as a senior analyst. Same industry as subject's employer. Sending full background report. Morrison Financial Services. A rival firm to Sterling Investment Group. Brandon was sleeping with someone from a competing company. That added a whole new dimension to this mess. The background report arrived minutes later. Vanessa Cole, graduated top of her class from business school, fast-tracked into senior positions. Known in the industry as ambitious and cutthroat. Single, no children, lived in a condo downtown. Pierce's report continued. Based on professional profiles and industry connections, appears Cole and subject may be engaged in corporate espionage or planning business venture. Recommend investigating financial ties between them. Corporate espionage. I read the words 3 times trying to make sense of them. Brandon wasn't just having an affair and stealing from me. He was potentially sharing corporate secrets with a competitor. This was bigger than I thought. I forwarded everything to Gloria, then lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. My husband was a criminal. Not just a cheater, not just a thief, but someone engaged in serious fraud. And I was married to him. Legally tied to him. If he got caught, would I go down too? Would my business be implicated? I needed to talk to Gloria immediately. I called her cell phone, not caring that it was Saturday afternoon. She answered on the third ring. Naomi? What's wrong? The woman is Vanessa Cole. She works for Morrison Financial. Detective Pierce thinks they might be involved in corporate espionage. Gloria was silent for a moment. That's actually helpful. If they're conspiring to steal corporate secrets, that's federal crime territory. Much more serious than simple embezzlement. It also means your husband has more to lose, which gives us leverage. But could I be implicated? We're still married. My business and his finances are intertwined. That's why we're moving quickly to separate everything. By the time this comes out, you'll have documentation showing you had no knowledge of his activities. You're the victim here, not an accomplice. But we need to be careful. If he suspects you're on to him, he might try to frame you instead. Frame me for what? For his crimes. Or create new ones and pin them on you. Men who are desperate do desperate things. That's why we're gathering evidence but not confronting him yet. We need an airtight case before we move. After hanging up with Gloria, I spent the rest of Saturday afternoon researching Vanessa Cole online. Her LinkedIn profile showed an impressive career trajectory. Her company bio described her as innovative and results-driven. Her social media was mostly professional content, articles about finance and investment strategies. She didn't look like a home wrecker. She looked like a successful businesswoman, which made it worse somehow. Brandon hadn't thrown away our marriage for someone frivolous or empty. He'd chosen someone accomplished, intelligent, ambitious. Someone like me but younger. Sunday was quieter. Brandon spent most of the day watching football, giving me space to process. Pierce sent an update that there was no activity to report. Subjects were at their respective homes. I used the time to go through my business files more carefully. Now that I knew Vanessa worked in finance, I looked for any connection between my company and Morrison Financial Services. And I found it. 3 months ago, we had pitched a major campaign to a financial services client. We didn't get the contract. It went to Morrison Financial's in-house marketing team instead. At the time, I was disappointed but assumed it was a normal business loss. Now I wondered if Vanessa had used information Brandon gave her to undercut our proposal. Had he sabotaged my business to help her company? I made notes of everything, adding to the growing case file. Every piece of evidence was another nail in Brandon's coffin. By Sunday night, I had a clearer picture of what was happening. Brandon and Vanessa weren't just having an affair. They were partners in something bigger. Whether it was corporate espionage, business fraud, or something else, they were working together. And I was going to take them both down. Monday morning, I called Richard Foster, the business attorney Gloria had recommended. His assistant scheduled me for Tuesday afternoon. I also called the forensic accountant Gloria had lined up. She could start immediately. At work, I told my assistant Pamela that we were doing a financial audit and restructuring. We're growing fast and need to make sure our systems are solid. I've hired some consultants. If anyone calls about account information, forward them to me directly. Of course. Anything I should be worried about? No, just standard business stuff. But I want to keep it confidential until we're done. You know how clients get nervous when they hear the word audit. Pamela nodded, accepting the explanation. I hated lying to my staff, but I couldn't risk word getting back to Brandon somehow. That evening, Brandon came home excited. Guess what? I'm going to a conference in Chicago next month. 3 days, all expenses paid. The firm is sending their top executives. That's great, I said, my mind already spinning. A conference meant he'd be out of town, probably with Vanessa if she was going too. It meant 3 days where he could escalate whatever plan they were executing. I needed to move faster. When is it? 3 weeks from now. Thursday through Saturday. He kissed my forehead. Sorry to leave you alone for the weekend, but this is good for my career. I understand. Work comes first sometimes. That night, after Brandon fell asleep, I emailed Gloria. Subject: planning Chicago conference trip in 3 weeks. Suspect: woman will attend. Need to move timeline up. Her response came at 6 a.m. Agreed. Meeting this afternoon. Bring all documentation. The walls were closing in on Brandon. He just didn't know it yet. The forensic accountant's name was Janet Wu, a precise woman in her 50s who dressed in maroon business suits and spoke in careful, measured tones. She spent Tuesday and Wednesday at my office, going through every financial record with meticulous attention. On Thursday morning, she called me into the conference room where she had set up her temporary workspace. Papers covered the table in organized stacks, and her laptop displayed complex spreadsheets. "Mrs. Richardson, I found significant irregularities." She gestured to a printout. "The 40,000 you identified is just the beginning. When I traced the pattern back further, there's evidence of manipulation going back 6 months. Total estimated diversion of funds is closer to $95,000. My stomach dropped. 95,000? The early thefts were smaller and less frequent, so they didn't stand out. But the pattern is clear. Money being siphoned to 3 different accounts, all registered to shell companies. The transactions were timed to coincide with legitimate vendor payments, making them harder to spot in routine bookkeeping. Can you trace where the money went after it hit those accounts? That's where it gets interesting." Janet pulled up another screen. 2 of the shell companies are registered in Delaware with minimal ownership information publicly available. But the third one has a paper trail. Want to guess who's listed as the managing member? Brandon? No. Vanessa Cole. The room tilted slightly. Brandon had stolen $95,000 from my company and funneled at least some of it directly to his mistress. "There's more," Janet continued. "I also found evidence that someone has been accessing your client database remotely. They've downloaded client contracts, pricing information, and strategy documents. Based on the access logs, these downloads happened from an IP address registered to Sterling Investment Group." "Brandon's office." "Yes. He's been systematically copying your proprietary business information." "For what purpose?" "That's not my area. But if I had to guess, either corporate espionage to benefit his mistress's company, or he's planning to start a competing firm using your clients and strategies." I sat down heavily. "Can you document all of this?" "I can and I have. Detailed reports with evidence, transaction trails, access logs, everything you need for legal proceedings. I'll have the final report ready by tomorrow." After Janet left, I called Gloria. "We need to meet. Now." An hour later, I was back in her office, watching her review Janet's preliminary findings. "This is excellent," Gloria said, which seemed like a strange response to discovering my husband had stolen nearly $100,000. "I mean, it's terrible for you personally. But legally this gives us massive leverage. He's not just stealing from you. He's engaged in systematic fraud and theft of intellectual property. So what do? We file for divorce, but we don't just file for divorce. We file with a motion for immediate relief. We ask the court to freeze all joint assets, remove him from your business accounts, and issue a temporary restraining order preventing him from accessing your company or its information. We hit him hard and fast before he knows what's happening." "When?" "As soon as you're ready. I'd recommend next week, after you meet with Richard Foster and restructure your business ownership. We want as many protections in place as possible before we light this fire." I met with Richard Foster the next day. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with an easy manner that belied his sharp legal mind. After reviewing my situation, he outlined a plan. "We're going to create a new business entity. You'll transfer ownership of Richardson Marketing Solutions to this new entity, of which you are the sole owner. Your husband has no legal claim to your business since it was established before your marriage, but this adds another layer of protection. We'll also update all your operating agreements to require unanimous board approval for any major decisions, and since you're the only board member, that means only you can make those decisions." "How long does this take?" "I can have the paperwork filed by Monday. It'll take a few weeks to process completely, but the filing date is what matters legally. Once we file, we establish that you took steps to protect your business before the divorce proceedings began." "Do it." That weekend, I attended a conference for marketing professionals. It was scheduled months ago and I had been looking forward to it. Now it felt like an escape, 2 days away from Brandon and the lies. Detective Pierce's reports continued. Friday afternoon, Brandon left work early and met Vanessa at a hotel downtown. They stayed for 2 hours. Saturday they met for brunch, then went shopping together. They looked like a couple, comfortable and happy. Each report was another knife in my chest. Not because I still loved Brandon, but because I couldn't believe how thoroughly I'd been fooled. At the conference, I ran into Terrence Mills, an old friend from college. We'd lost touch over the years, but he recognized me immediately. "Naomi Richardson? Is that really you? Terrence? Oh my goodness." I hugged him, genuinely happy to see a friendly face. "You look good." Tall, fit, with warm brown eyes and an easy smile. He'd been in my marketing classes, always creative and thoughtful. "What are you doing here?" I own a marketing firm now. Came to network and learn. You. I'm an architect, but I work with marketing teams a lot. Came to understand the industry better. He paused. Want to grab coffee and catch up? We spent an hour in the conference center cafe talking about our lives. I kept my answers about my marriage vague in general. He was divorced, had been for 3 years, no children. It was mutual, he explained. We grew apart. Different goals, different priorities. Better to end it than be miserable. That's mature of you both. Yeah, well, life's too short to stay in situations that don't work. He looked at me carefully. You okay? You seem stressed. Just work stuff. Growing pains with the business. I remember you always wanted to run your own company. Even back in college you had that entrepreneurial spirit. I'm glad you made it happen. His kindness nearly broke through my carefully constructed walls. I changed the subject quickly, asking about his architecture firm. We exchanged business cards before parting. Let's not lose touch again, he said. Coffee sometime when we're not at conferences? I'd like that. It was the first genuine moment of lightness I'd felt in weeks. Terrence was safe, uncomplicated, honest. Everything Brandon wasn't. Monday morning, Richard Foster called. Paperwork is filed. Your business is officially restructured. I've also prepared new banking authorization forms. Take them to your bank today and remove your husband's access from all business accounts. I did exactly that during my lunch break. The bank representative processed the changes without question, treating it as routine business administration. Within an hour, Brandon's name was removed from every business account. That evening, he tried to log into our business banking to pay a vendor. Of course, his access was denied. Babe, something's wrong with the bank website, he called from his home office. My login isn't working. I walked in, my heart pounding but my face calm. Oh, the bank made us update all the security protocols last week. New regulations or something. I had to reset everything. Can you give me the new login? The accounts are restricted now. Only primary business owners can access them directly. You can still help with finances, just send me the payment information and I'll process it. He frowned. That's inconvenient. I know, but it's the new security requirement. Something about preventing fraud. The irony was almost funny. Fine. I need to pay Jensen Marketing Supply. Here's the invoice. I took the invoice, processed the payment from my phone, and showed him the confirmation. All set. He seemed slightly annoyed but didn't push further. That night, I lay awake wondering if he suspected anything. Had I played it too casually? Too nervous? Was my performance convincing? The next day, Gloria called with an update from Detective Pierce. Your husband and Vanessa Cole have been meeting with a third party. Man in his 60s, drives a Mercedes, wears expensive suits. Pierce is working on identifying him, but the meetings look serious. Lots of document exchange. Another co-conspirator? Possibly. Or a potential investor in whatever they're planning. We're tracking it. That evening, Brandon was in an unusually good mood. He brought home flowers, made dinner, poured wine. I've been thinking, he said over pasta. We should take a vacation soon. Maybe after my Chicago conference. Just the two of us somewhere tropical. When's the last time we really relaxed together? 8 months ago before your affair started, I thought. Out loud I said, that sounds nice. We've both been working so hard. Exactly. We need to reconnect. Remember why we fell in love in the first place. The words were so sincere, so earnest. If I didn't know the truth, I would have been touched. Instead, I recognized it for what it was. Manipulation. Keep me happy, keep me unsuspecting, keep me compliant while he executed whatever plan he was building. Let's talk about it after your conference, I said. Figure out our schedules and budget. Perfect. He raised his wine glass. To us. To us, I echoed, clinking my glass against his. But in my mind I was thinking, to your destruction. Wednesday morning, Pierce sent an urgent text. Third party identified. Lawrence Blackwell, venture capitalist. Known for funding startup firms, particularly in marketing and consulting. Subject and woman met with him again yesterday, signed documents. I called Gloria immediately. They're starting a company. That's what this is. Brandon and Vanessa are starting a competing firm using my stolen client information and the money they've embezzled. That makes sense, Gloria agreed, and explains the timeline. They need to get everything in place before they make their move. Once they launch their competing firm, they'll try to poach your clients using the inside information they've stolen. Can we stop them? We're going to do better than stop them. We're going to catch them red-handed, document everything, and use it to destroy them both legally and professionally. But we need to be patient just a little longer. Let them think they're succeeding. Let them keep digging their own graves. How much longer? 2 weeks. After Brandon's Chicago conference. That's probably when they'll make their official move, when they think they're far enough along that you can't do anything about it. That's when we strike. 2 more weeks of pretending. 2 more weeks of lying next to my husband at night, making small talk over breakfast, acting like my world wasn't burning down around me. I could do it. I had to. Friday afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Mrs. Richardson? A woman's voice, young and confident. Yes, who's this? My name is Vanessa Cole. I think we need to talk. My blood ran cold. I don't know who you are or why you're calling me. Please don't hang up. I know this is awkward, but I have information you need to hear about your husband. Can we meet? I'm not interested in meeting you. Mrs. Richardson, please. Your husband is not who you think he is. I've made mistakes, I know that, but you deserve to know the truth. Goodbye, Miss Cole. I hung up, my hands shaking. She called back immediately. I didn't answer. She called again. I blocked the number. What was she playing at? Why would she contact me now? Was this part of their plan somehow? I called Gloria and told her about the call. This is concerning, Gloria said. Either she's having second thoughts about the scheme, or this is a new manipulation tactic. Don't engage with her. Don't respond. If she contacts you again, document it but don't interact. Should I tell Brandon she called? Absolutely not. Let's see what she does next. That night, Brandon was late coming home. When he finally arrived at 9 p.m., he seemed agitated. Everything okay? I asked. Fine. Just work stress. Project deadline. He poured himself a scotch and drank it faster than usual. I wondered if Vanessa had told him she contacted me. Were they fighting? Was their plan falling apart? Or was this just another act? I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the darkness, listening to Brandon breathe, thinking about Vanessa's phone call. What did she want? What was her angle? More importantly, what was I going to do about it? Monday morning started like any other workday. I got to my office at 8, reviewed my schedule with Pamela, and settled in with coffee to tackle emails. At 9:15 my phone rang. An unknown number again, but different from the one Vanessa had used. I let it go to voicemail. 2 minutes later, Pamela buzzed my intercom. Naomi, there's someone from your company's board calling. Says it's urgent. My company didn't have a traditional board. Richardson Marketing Solutions was my sole proprietorship. But we had an advisory board, 3 experienced business leaders I'd recruited for guidance and credibility. I only heard from them quarterly unless something was seriously wrong. Which board member? Diane Chin. Diane was the chair, a retired marketing executive who'd mentored me when I was starting out. I picked up the transferred call. Diane, good morning. What's going on? Naomi, I received a very disturbing call this morning. An anonymous tip to my personal cell phone. Someone claiming there are financial irregularities at your company. Embezzlement, specifically. My stomach clenched. What was happening? They were making their move. That's absurd. Who made this claim? The caller wouldn't identify themselves. But they were very specific. They mentioned account numbers, transaction amounts, dates. They said evidence has been forwarded to me and the other board members via email. I haven't embezzled anything. I know that, Naomi. You're one of the most honest people I know. But the board has a fiduciary responsibility to investigate any allegations of financial misconduct. You understand that? Of course. I'm calling an emergency board meeting for Wednesday afternoon. 4 o'clock. We need to review the allegations and your financial records. Can you attend? Yes. My mind was racing. This was Brandon's endgame. Frame me for the embezzlement he'd committed, destroy my reputation in business, then swoop in with Vanessa to steal my clients. Naomi, bring your financial documentation. Bank statements, transaction records, whatever you have. We'll need to see everything. I will. Diane, I want you to know whatever these allegations are, they're false. I have done nothing wrong. I believe you. But we still have to follow proper procedures. I'll see you Wednesday. After hanging up, I immediately called Gloria. It's happening. They've made their move. Anonymous tip to my board about embezzlement. Expected. Are you prepared? You said to wait 2 weeks. Plans change. They've forced our hand. We move now. Can you come to my office this afternoon? Yes. Bring everything. All of Janet Wu's reports, Detective Pierce's surveillance, The security footage from the restaurant, your restructured business documents, everything. We're going to war. I spent the rest of the morning canceling meetings and gathering documents. Every piece of evidence Janet Wu had compiled, every surveillance photo from Pierce, every bank statement showing where the stolen money actually went. I organized everything into labeled folders. At noon, I drove to Gloria's office. She had her entire team assembled in the conference room. Richard Foster, the business attorney, was there. So was Janet Wu, the forensic accountant. And Detective Pierce, looking serious and focused. Let's review the situation, Gloria said, taking charge. They've accused you of embezzlement to preempt your discovery of their crimes. Classic offensive defense. They think if they strike first, they control the narrative. They're wrong. What's the plan? I asked. Wednesday's board meeting is actually perfect for us, Richard Foster said. You'll present evidence not of your guilt, but of your husband's. You'll show the board that you're the victim, not the criminal. You'll demonstrate that you discovered the theft, hired investigators, and were in the process of building a case when they tried to frame you. Won't that tip off Brandon that I know everything? Yes, Gloria said bluntly. But the alternative is letting their false accusations stand. We have no choice but to reveal our hand now. The good news is we have overwhelming evidence. The bad news is once Brandon knows we're onto him, he might run or try to destroy evidence. Which is why we're taking additional steps, Pierce added. I've been coordinating with contacts in law enforcement. Based on the evidence of embezzlement and corporate espionage, there's enough for criminal charges. But we need to move fast. As soon as you present your evidence to the board Wednesday, I'll deliver our complete file to the district attorney's office. Will they actually prosecute? $95,000 in documented theft, plus corporate espionage, plus conspiracy? Yes, they'll prosecute. The question is timing. These things usually take months to build a case. We're handing them a complete investigation on a silver platter. Janet Wu spoke up. I've also prepared a presentation for the board meeting. Clear visuals showing the money trail from your accounts to the shell companies to Vanessa Cole. I'll walk them through every transaction. By the time I'm done, there will be no doubt about who the real criminal is. What about Vanessa calling me? I asked. What was that about? Probably trying to manipulate you, Gloria said. Maybe she's having second thoughts. Maybe it was part of their plan to confuse you. Either way, don't engage with her. Focus on Wednesday. I spent Tuesday preparing for the board meeting. I rehearsed my statement, reviewed every document, tried to anticipate questions. I barely slept Tuesday night, my mind spinning through scenarios. Brandon noticed my stress. You seem distracted. Everything okay at work? Board meeting tomorrow. Just routine stuff, but I want to be prepared. You'll be great. You always are. He kissed my forehead, the same casual affection he'd shown throughout our marriage. The same touches that used to make me feel loved now made me feel sick. Wednesday morning I dressed carefully. A blue dress suit, professional and confident. I needed to look like someone in control, not someone falling apart. The board meeting was scheduled for 4 o'clock. At 2 I received an email from an unknown address. The subject line read, "You should read this before your meeting." Against my better judgment, I opened it. The email contained a single attachment, a PDF document titled, Evidence of Financial Misconduct by Naomi Richardson. My hands trembled as I opened it. 20 pages of fabricated evidence. Bank statements that had been doctored. Emails that had been forged with my name. Transaction records that made it look like I had been systematically stealing from my own company for months. It was sophisticated. If I didn't have the real records, if I didn't have Janet Wu's forensic analysis, these fake documents might have been convincing. I forwarded the email to Gloria immediately. Her response came within minutes. They're panicking. This is sloppy. We can prove these are forgeries. Stay calm. Stick to the plan. At 3:45, I arrived at the office building where our board meetings were held. Diane Chin had reserved a conference room on the 15th floor. I rode the elevator up with my briefcase full of evidence, my laptop with Janet Wu's presentation loaded, and my racing heart. The conference room had windows overlooking the city. The other 2 board members were already there. Michael Torres, a finance expert, and Patricia Goldstein, a former CEO. Both looked serious and uncomfortable. Naomi, Diane greeted me formally. Thank you for coming. I think you know why we're here. I do. I received the allegations. I'm prepared to address them. Before we start, I need to inform you that we've engaged an independent auditor to review your company's finances. Given the seriousness of the accusations, The board felt it was necessary. I understand. I've actually already engaged my own forensic accountant. She's prepared a full report that I'd like to share with you. Diane looked surprised. You hired an accountant? Yes. 2 weeks ago, I discovered financial irregularities in my company accounts. I immediately hired Janet Wu, a forensic accountant, to investigate. What she found was deeply disturbing, but it wasn't what you've been told. I opened my laptop and connected it to the conference room screen. Janet Wu's presentation appeared, clean and professional. Over the past 6 months, $95,000 has been stolen from Richardson Marketing Solutions. But I didn't steal it. My husband did. For the next 45 minutes I walked them through everything. The restaurant security footage showing Brandon and Vanessa together. Detective Pierce's surveillance photos. Janet's financial analysis showing where the money really went. The fake documents that had been sent to them, and how we could prove they were forgeries. The board members sat in stunned silence, watching evidence pile upon evidence. When I finished, Diane was the first to speak. Naomi, this is extraordinary. And horrifying. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Thank you. But I need the board to understand that the allegations against me are part of a coordinated attempt to destroy my reputation and steal my business. My husband and his mistress are planning to start a competing firm using my client lists and proprietary information. They tried to frame me first so I would be too busy defending myself to stop them. Michael Torres leaned forward. What do you need from us? I need the board to formally state that these allegations are false and that I have the board's full support. I need you to help me protect the company from any further attacks. And I need you to be prepared for media attention, because this is about to become very public. Patricia spoke up. We support you completely. This is clearly a case of criminal fraud by your husband, not misconduct by you. The board will issue a statement backing you and condemning the false allegations. There's one more thing, I said. I'm filing for divorce and pressing criminal charges against both my husband and Vanessa Cole. The district attorney will likely be contacting some of you for statements as part of their investigation. I hope you'll cooperate. Absolutely, Diane said firmly. Naomi, you built this company from nothing. You've been nothing but ethical and transparent with this board. We're not going to let someone destroy what you've created through lies and theft. Relief flooded through me. The board was on my side. The first battle was won. After the meeting, I sat in my car and called Gloria. It went well. The board supports me completely. Excellent. Now comes the hard part. Pierce is delivering our evidence to the DA right now. I'm filing divorce papers first thing tomorrow morning. By tomorrow afternoon, Brandon will be served. Are you ready for that? I'm ready. Where are you planning to be when he gets served? At my office. I don't want to be home when it happens. Smart. I'd also recommend having someone with you for support. This is going to get intense. I thought about Terrence, the old friend from the conference. We'd been texting occasionally, friendly conversations about work and life. He didn't know what I was going through, but he was safe and kind. I have someone I can call. Good. Naomi, you've been incredibly strong through this. But tomorrow everything changes. Once Brandon knows you've discovered his crimes and filed for divorce, he's going to react. He might be angry, he might try to manipulate you, he might even try to threaten you. Don't engage. Don't answer his calls. Don't meet with him alone. Everything from now on goes through lawyers. I understand. One more thing. Change your locks tomorrow before he gets served. Change your security codes. Make sure he can't access your home or your office. Protect yourself physically and legally. That night I couldn't go home. The thought of spending one more night under the same roof as Brandon was unbearable. I checked into a hotel downtown, texting Brandon that I was staying near the office to finish a project. His response was immediate. Want me to bring you dinner? No thanks. Ordering in. See you tomorrow. I sat in the hotel room looking out at the city lights, thinking about how my life had changed in 3 weeks. 3 weeks ago, I was a happily married woman building a successful business. Now I was preparing to destroy my husband's life. But he had struck first. He had betrayed me, stolen from me, plotted against me. I was just defending myself. I pulled out my phone and texted Terrence, "Are you free for coffee tomorrow afternoon? I could use a friend." His response came quickly, "Of course. Everything okay?" Long story. I'll explain tomorrow. I'm here if you need to talk. Or just sit in silence. Whatever helps. His kindness made tears prick my eyes. I hadn't cried yet through all of this. I'd been too focused on strategy and survival. But knowing someone cared, Someone who wasn't a lawyer or investigator or business associate, someone who just wanted to help. It cracked something inside me. I didn't cry though. Not yet. I needed to stay strong just a little longer. Tomorrow, Brandon would learn that his perfect plan had fallen apart. Tomorrow, his world would start crumbling. And I would be there to watch it burn. Thursday morning, I woke up in the hotel room at 6 a.m. I'd barely slept, my mind replaying everything that was about to happen. Today, Brandon would be served with divorce papers. Today, the district attorney would review the criminal evidence. Today, everything I'd been building toward would finally explode. I showered and dressed in a green pantsuit, another suit of professional armor. Then I called a locksmith and scheduled him to change all the locks at my house at noon. Next, I called my security company and had them change all the access codes. Brandon would come home tonight to find himself locked out of his own house. Or house. No, my house. I'd bought it before we got married with money I'd earned. It was in my name only. Brandon had no legal claim to it. At 8 a.m. I drove to my office. The staff filtered in over the next hour, nobody aware that their boss's life was imploding. I tried to focus on work, responding to client emails and reviewing campaign proposals, but my attention kept drifting to my phone. At 10:30, Gloria texted, "Papers filed. Process server heading to his office now. Should be served within the hour." My stomach clenched. This was really happening. There was no going back now. At 11:15 my phone rang. Brandon's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. He called again immediately. I declined the call. A text came through, "Naomi, what the hell is going on? Call me now." He'd been served. It was done. Another text, "You filed for divorce? Are you insane? We need to talk about this." I turned off my phone and put it in my desk drawer. Gloria had been clear. No contact, no engagement, everything through lawyers. At noon, Terrence arrived at my office. I'd asked him to meet me early before our planned coffee date. When Pamela showed him into my office, his face immediately registered concern. "Naomi, what's wrong? You look exhausted. Close the door." He did, then sat across from my desk. "Talk to me." And I did. I told him everything. The forgotten purse, the security footage, the embezzlement, the affair, the scheme to steal my business. 3 weeks of secrets came pouring out. Terrence listened without interrupting, his expression shifting from shock to anger to sympathy. When I finished, he leaned back and exhaled slowly. "I don't even know what to say. That's beyond betrayal. That's criminal. It is criminal. He's going to be charged." "Good. He deserves it." Terrence paused. "How are you holding up?" "Really? I don't know. I've been in survival mode for weeks. Haven't really processed any of it emotionally. That's going to hit you eventually. When it does, you need support. Friends, family, therapy. You can't go through something like this alone. I called you, didn't I?" He smiled gently. "You did. And I'm glad. Listen, I don't know what you need right now, but I'm here. You need someone to sit with you in silence? I'm here. You need someone to vent to? I'm here. You need someone to help you move his stuff out of your house? I'm really here for that." Despite everything, I laughed. "Thank you. Honestly, just knowing I have a friend right now helps more than you know. You have more than a friend. You have someone who thinks you're one of the strongest people he's ever met. What you're doing, standing up for yourself like this, it's incredible." At 2 p.m., Detective Pierce called my office line. "Mrs. Richardson, I wanted to update you. The DA's office is moving forward with charges against your husband and Vanessa Cole. They're convening a grand jury next week. Based on the evidence, they're confident about getting indictments." "What charges?" "Embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, theft of trade secrets. Your husband is looking at serious prison time if convicted. Miss Cole too. What happens next? The DA will likely want to interview you formally. You'll need to testify before the grand jury about the theft and the impact on your business. After that, if they get indictments, there will be arraignments and eventually a trial. How long does all that take?" "Months. Maybe a year or more. White-collar crime cases move slowly, but the divorce can proceed separately. That might resolve faster." After hanging up, I updated Terrence on the developments. He shook his head in disbelief. "This is like something from a movie. I can't believe your husband thought he'd get away with it." "He probably would have if I hadn't forgotten my purse that night." "Lucky purse. Lucky me." At 3:30, Pamela buzzed my intercom. "Naomi, there's a woman here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent. Her name is Vanessa Cole." My blood froze. "Tell her I'm not available. She says she'll wait. She seems pretty determined." I looked at Terrence. Brandon's mistress is in my lobby. Want me to get rid of her? No. I want to hear what she has to say. I stood up, straightening my suit. But you're coming with me. We walked to the lobby together. Vanessa Cole sat in one of the waiting area chairs, her legs crossed, wearing a red blazer and black pants. When she saw me, she stood quickly. Mrs. Richardson, thank you for seeing me. I'm not seeing you. I'm asking you to leave my office. Please, just 5 minutes. I need to explain. Explain what? How you've been sleeping with my husband while helping him steal from my company. I think I understand that perfectly. Vanessa flinched. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Can we talk privately? Absolutely not. Anything you want to say to me, you can say in front of my colleague. I gestured to Terrence, who stood beside me with his arms crossed. Vanessa glanced at him, then back to me. Fine. Brandon told me you two were getting divorced. He said the marriage was over, that you'd grown apart, that you were both just waiting for the right time to make it official. He said you knew about us and were okay with it. And you believed him? Yes. I believed him because he was convincing. Because he showed me text messages that he said were from you, agreeing to the separation. Because he introduced me to people as his girlfriend, not his affair. So you're saying you didn't know he was lying? Not until this week. Not until he told me about the plan to frame you for embezzlement. That's when I realized he'd been using me. Using both of us. I studied her face, trying to determine if she was telling the truth. She looked genuinely distressed, but she was also someone who'd been carrying on an affair with a married man. How much could I trust her? Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm not a criminal. I didn't sign up to destroy someone's life. When Brandon told me what he was planning, I told him I wanted out. That's when he threatened me. Threatened you how? He said if I didn't go along with the plan, he'd make sure I got blamed for everything. The theft, the fraud, all of it. He said he had evidence that made it look like I was the mastermind and he was just a victim of my manipulation. Do you have proof of any of this? Vanessa reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. I recorded our last conversation. The one where he threatened me. I was afraid of what he might do, so I documented it. She pulled up a voice recording and played it. Brandon's voice came through clearly. You're in this now, Vanessa. You can't just walk away. I've got emails from your account authorizing transfers. I've got documents with your signature. If you try to back out, I'll make sure every penny of that stolen money traces back to you. You'll be the one going to prison, not me. Vanessa's voice, shaky. You said this was just about starting a new company. You didn't say anything about framing your wife. Brandon, plans change. Are you in or out? Because if you're out, you're going down. The recording ended. I looked at Vanessa with new eyes. She wasn't just Brandon's accomplice. She was another one of his victims. Send me that recording, I said. I will. I'll send you everything I have. Emails, text messages, everything. I just need you to know that I'm not the person he made me think I was. I thought I was dating a man going through a divorce, not helping him commit crimes. That doesn't excuse sleeping with a married man. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for the pain I've caused you. But I'm trying to make it right now. I pulled out my business card and wrote Gloria's number on the back. This is my attorney. Call her. Tell her everything you just told me. Give her all the evidence you have. If you're telling the truth, it might help your case when the DA presses charges. Thank you. Vanessa took the card with shaking hands. For what it's worth, Brandon really is a monster. I hope you destroy him. After she left, Terrence let out a low whistle. That was intense. That was Brandon losing control of his plan. First the board supports me, then the DA files charges, now his accomplice is turning on him. His perfect scheme is falling apart. Good. What's next? Coffee. You promised me coffee. We went to a cafe down the street and sat by the window. Terrence ordered for both of us while I checked my phone, which I'd turned back on. 17 missed calls from Brandon. 6 voicemails. Dozens of text messages ranging from angry to pleading to threatening. Don't read those, Terrence said, setting a latte in front of me. He's just trying to manipulate you. I know. Gloria said not to engage. Smart lawyer. Listen to her. We talked for an hour, not about Brandon but about other things. Terrence told me about his architecture projects, his family, his hobbies. Normal conversation that felt like a lifeline to sanity. For 1 hour, I wasn't a woman going through a nightmare divorce. I was just someone having coffee with a friend. At 6 p.m. I finally went home. The locksmith had changed all the locks as scheduled. I had the new keys in my purse. When I pulled into the driveway, Brandon's car was parked on the street, and he was sitting on the front porch steps. I stayed in my car for a moment, debating whether to call the police. But he wasn't technically trespassing. He was just sitting outside. I got out and walked toward the house, keeping my distance from him. "Naomi, please, we need to talk." He stood up, his hands out in a placating gesture. He looked terrible, his hair messy, his eyes red. "This is crazy. You can't just throw away 8 years of marriage without even talking to me. I have nothing to say to you. Did someone put these ideas in your head? Did someone convince you I was doing something wrong? You stole $95,000 from my company, Brandon. You had an affair. You tried to frame me for crimes you committed. Those aren't ideas someone put in my head. Those are facts." His expression changed, the false concern dropping away to reveal cold calculation. "You can't prove any of that." "Actually, I can. Security footage, surveillance photos, forensic accounting, bank records, testimony from your mistress who just turned on you. I can prove all of it." "Vanessa talked to you?" For the first time he looked genuinely worried. "She did. Played me a recording of you threatening her. The DA is going to love that." Brandon's face flushed red. "You vindictive witch. You're going to ruin my life over nothing." "Over nothing? You tried to destroy my business." "Your business? You mean the business I helped you build? You think you did all that alone? I supported you. I helped you. And this is how you repay me. You stole from me. I took what I was owed. We're married. What's yours is mine. Not anymore. We're getting divorced. And you're going to prison." He moved toward me and I stepped back quickly. "Don't come near me." "Or what? You'll call the cops?" "Tell them what?" "That your husband wants to talk to his wife. That my soon-to-be ex-husband is trespassing and threatening me." "I'm not threatening you. I'm trying to save our marriage. Our marriage ended the moment you decided to betray me. Leave, Brandon. You don't live here anymore. This is my house. Actually, it's not. I bought it before we were married. It's in my name only. You have no legal right to be here. You can't kick me out. I just did. And if you don't leave in the next 60 seconds, I'm calling the police and filing for a restraining order." We stared at each other, 8 years of marriage reduced to this moment of pure hostility. Finally, Brandon laughed bitterly. "You're going to regret this. When you're alone and lonely, when your business fails because you couldn't handle it without my support, you're going to realize what a mistake this was. I'll take my chances. Goodbye, Brandon." I walked past him to the front door, used my new key to unlock it and stepped inside. Then I closed the door and locked it, leaving him standing on the porch. Through the window, I watched him stand there for a long moment. Then he kicked the porch railing, got in his car and drove away. Only then did I allow myself to lean against the door and slide down to sit on the floor. My whole body was shaking. The confrontation I'd been dreading was over and I'd survived it. My phone buzzed. A text from Gloria. "How did it go?" "He was waiting at the house. I told him to leave." "He did. Good. If he comes back, call the police immediately. I'm filing for a restraining order tomorrow." "Thank you." Another text, this one from Terrence. "You okay? Want me to come by?" I looked around my empty house. Our house. My house. For the first time in 3 weeks, I was truly alone. No more pretending, no more lying, no more sleeping next to the enemy. Just me and the wreckage of my marriage. "I'm okay," I texted back to Terrence. "Just need to process everything. Thank you for today. Anytime. Seriously, call if you need anything." I sat on the floor for a long time, letting the reality sink in. My marriage was over. My husband was going to be charged with crimes. My life as I knew it had ended. But I was still here. Still standing. Still fighting. And I was going to win. The next morning, Friday, I woke up in my bed alone for the first time in 8 years. The house felt different, quieter, emptier. But also somehow lighter, like a weight had been lifted. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through my phone. Gloria had sent an email overnight with updates. The DA's office had scheduled my grand jury testimony for the following Wednesday. Vanessa Cole had indeed contacted Gloria and provided everything she had, recordings and emails and text messages showing Brandon's manipulation and threats. The evidence was overwhelming. The divorce proceedings would take months, but Gloria was confident we'd get everything I wanted. The house, my business, the marital assets. Brandon would be left with nothing but legal bills and criminal charges. At 9 a.m., Diane Shin called. "Naomi, I wanted to let you know the board met last night and issued a formal statement supporting you. We've also sent letters to all your major clients explaining that there was an attempted fraud against the company, but that you discovered and stopped it. We're framing this as a testament to your strong leadership. Thank you, Diane. That means everything. We're also voting to expand the advisory board and implement stronger financial controls. Not because we don't trust you, but because it'll help protect the company and your reputation going forward. That makes sense. One more thing. We want to give you a vote of confidence by approving that expansion plan you proposed last quarter. If you're still interested in opening a second office location, the board will back it financially. I had almost forgotten about that proposal. Back when my life was normal, I had dreams of growing the company, opening new locations, taking on bigger clients. Those dreams had seemed dead over the past 3 weeks. But maybe they weren't. Maybe this disaster could actually lead to something better. I'm definitely interested. Let me revisit the proposal and get back to you next week. After hanging up, I realized I was smiling. My business wasn't just surviving this scandal. It was going to grow stronger. The morning news cycle picked up the story. Not the salacious details, but the basic facts. Local marketing executive discovers husband's embezzlement scheme. The coverage was surprisingly sympathetic, portraying me as a victim and Brandon as a criminal. My phone started ringing with calls from reporters. I ignored them all, forwarding the numbers to Gloria's office. She would handle the media. At lunchtime, Pamela knocked on my office door. "There's a delivery for you." A courier brought in a massive flower arrangement, 24 red roses. My first thought was Brandon, some manipulation tactic. But the card read, "Proud of your strength. Keep fighting. Terrence." I found myself tearing up. Not from sadness, but from gratitude. Having someone in my corner, someone who believed in me, it made all the difference. I texted him, "Thank you for the flowers. They're beautiful." His response was immediate, "You're welcome. Dinner tonight?" "My treat. You need to eat something besides stress and coffee." I hesitated. Was it appropriate to have dinner with another man while going through a divorce? But Brandon had betrayed me first. He'd been having an affair for months. I wasn't doing anything wrong by having dinner with a friend. Dinner sounds great. That afternoon, Detective Pierce called with more news. Brandon Richardson was arrested an hour ago. The DA moved faster than expected. They had enough evidence to charge him immediately rather than waiting for the grand jury. He's in custody? He was. Posted bail already. But he's officially charged with embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. Vanessa Cole will be charged separately next week, but given her cooperation, she'll likely get a plea deal. What does this mean for the divorce? It strengthens your position significantly. Hard to argue for a fair asset split when you're under indictment for stealing from your spouse. After work, I went home and changed for dinner with Terrence. I chose a simple maroon dress, nothing fancy, just comfortable and presentable. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. 3 weeks ago, I was a woman trying to please her husband, wearing what he liked, acting how he preferred. Now I was just me. And that felt revolutionary. Terrence picked me up at 7. He'd made reservations at a small Italian restaurant across town, deliberately far from Giovanni's and all its painful associations. Over pasta and wine we talked. Really talked. I told him about my dreams for the business, my plans for expansion. He told me about his latest architecture project, designing a community center. We laughed about college memories, terrible professors, and all-night study sessions. "Can I ask you something?" Terrence said during dessert. "What are you going to do after all this is over? After the divorce is final and the criminal case is resolved?" I haven't thought that far ahead. I've been so focused on surviving day to day. You should think about it, because you're going to get through this. And when you do, you'll have a whole new life ahead of you. What do you want that life to look like? Was a good question. What did I want? For so long, my identity had been tied to being Mrs. Richardson, Brandon's wife. Now I got to be just Naomi, whoever that was. "I want to build something real," I said slowly. "Not just a successful business, but a life that's actually mine. I want to travel, try new things, meet people who see me for who I am, not who they want me to be." That sounds like a good plan. What about you? What do you want? Honestly, I want to spend more time with interesting people. People like you who've been through hard things and come out stronger. He paused. "I don't want to overstep, but I'm really enjoying getting to know you again. As friends or whatever this is. I'm enjoying it too. But I need to be honest. I'm a mess right now. I'm going through a divorce, dealing with criminal charges against my husband, trying to save my business. I'm not in a place to think about relationships." I understand. And I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying I'm here. As a friend, as support, as whatever you need. No pressure, no expectations. Thank you. That's exactly what I need right now. He drove me home and walked me to the door. Lock up tight. Call if you need anything. I will. I went inside and checked all the locks, feeling paranoid but justified. Brandon had been arrested and released. He was probably angry, possibly desperate. I needed to be careful. That night I slept better than I had in weeks. No more lying next to Brandon, wondering what he was planning. No more pretending everything was fine. Just me, alone, safe, preparing for whatever came next. Saturday morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls and text messages. Something had happened. I called Gloria immediately. Naomi, there's been a development. Brandon tried to flee the country last night. What? He went to the airport, bought a one-way ticket to Mexico with cash. Airport security flagged him because he's under indictment. He's back in custody now, and the judge revoked his bail. He's not getting out this time. I sat down heavily. Brandon had tried to run. The man I'd been married to for 8 years had been willing to abandon everything and flee rather than face consequences for his actions. What happens now? He stays in jail until trial. The judge will consider him a flight risk, so bail will be denied. This actually helps us because it shows consciousness of guilt. He knew he was caught and tried to run. How long until trial? Could be 6 months to a year. But the divorce can proceed in the meantime. We can probably have that resolved within 3 months. 3 months. 12 weeks. 90 days until I was legally free of Brandon Richardson. I could do that. I could survive that. Sunday I went for a long run, something I hadn't done in months. The physical exertion felt good, clearing my head and burning off anxiety. When I got home I found an email from Diane Chin. Naomi, just wanted to let you know that 3 clients have reached out this week specifically to praise your integrity and leadership during this difficult time. Word is spreading in the industry about how you handled the situation. You're becoming known as someone who can't be taken advantage of. That's a powerful reputation to have. The email made me smile. Brandon had tried to destroy my professional reputation. Instead, he'd inadvertently made it stronger. That week flew by in a blur of meetings with lawyers, testimony preparation, and normal work. My business continued functioning despite the personal chaos. My staff rallied around me, working extra hours to make sure clients stayed happy. On Wednesday, I testified before the grand jury. It took 2 hours to walk them through the evidence, answer their questions, explain how I discovered the theft. When I finished, the prosecutor told me I'd done an excellent job. Thursday, the grand jury returned indictments against both Brandon and Vanessa Cole. The charges were serious. Multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, theft of trade secrets. If convicted, Brandon could face 10 to 15 years in prison. Vanessa's attorney immediately reached out to negotiate a plea deal. In exchange for her testimony against Brandon, they wanted reduced charges and probation instead of prison time. Gloria advised me not to interfere with that decision. Let the DA handle the criminal case, she said. Our focus is the divorce. We file final papers next week. Friday afternoon, 2 weeks after Brandon was served with divorce papers, I was back in Gloria's office for a strategy session. Brandon's attorney is making noises about wanting to settle, Gloria said. He knows they have no leverage. Client is in jail, facing serious charges, caught red-handed stealing from you. But they still have to try. What are they offering? He walks away with nothing, you keep everything, he admits fault in the divorce. In exchange, they want you to not pursue civil damages beyond what he stole. Absolutely not. He stole $95,000 plus damaged my business reputation. I want every penny back plus damages. Then we go to trial. Should take about 3 months to get a court date. Are you prepared for that? Yes. Good. Because divorce trials can get ugly. His attorney will try to paint you as a difficult wife, claim you drove him to cheat, blame you for his criminal behavior. It's going to be brutal. I can handle brutal. I've been living brutal for a month. Gloria smiled. That's what I like to hear. That weekend, Terrence and I went to an art gallery opening. One of his architecture colleagues was featured. It was nice to do something normal, something that had nothing to do with divorce or fraud or betrayal. You look happy, Terrence observed as we looked at paintings. I think I am. Is that weird? My life is a disaster, but I'm happy. Not weird at all. You're free. Maybe not legally yet, but emotionally. You're not trapped anymore. He was right. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt like myself. Not someone's wife, not a victim, not a pawn in someone else's game. Just me. Thank you, I said. For what? For being here. For being someone I can trust. For reminding me that not everyone is like Brandon. You're welcome. Though honestly, you don't need me. You're doing this all on your own. I'm just watching and being impressed. Over the following weeks, life found a new rhythm. Work during the day, therapy sessions twice a week, occasional dinners with Terrence, regular updates from Gloria on the divorce proceedings. Brandon's trial date was set for 6 months out. My divorce hearing was scheduled for 2 months before that. Everything was moving forward. 1 month after Brandon's arrest, I received a letter from him. It had been screened by Gloria first to make sure it wasn't threatening. It was 5 pages long, handwritten, claiming he still loved me and had made terrible mistakes. He begged me to drop the charges, to forgive him, to give him another chance. I read it once, then shredded it. Some betrayals were too deep to forgive. Some marriages were too broken to save. Brandon Richardson was my past. Whatever came next was my future. And I was ready for it. 6 weeks after Brandon's arrest, I sat in Dr. Martinez's office for my Thursday afternoon therapy session. The office was comfortable, decorated in soft blues and grays, with large windows overlooking a park. Dr. Martinez was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a gentle manner that made it easy to open up. "How are you feeling today, Naomi?" she asked, settling into her chair with her notepad. "Better, actually. The nightmares have stopped. I'm sleeping through the night most nights now. That's real progress. What do you think has changed?" "I think I'm finally processing what happened instead of just surviving it. For weeks I was in crisis mode, just trying to get through each day. Now I'm starting to actually deal with the emotional stuff." "Tell me about that. What emotions are coming up?" I thought about it. Anger mostly. I'm so angry at Brandon for what he did, but also at myself for not seeing it sooner. There must have been signs. Let's talk about that self-blame. Do you really think you should have known? I was married to him for 8 years. How did I miss that he was capable of this? Naomi, people who commit fraud are often very good at deception. They have to be. You weren't stupid or naive. You were trusting your husband, which is what you're supposed to do in a marriage. He's the one who violated that trust, not you. Rationally, I knew she was right. But the guilt still lingered. I keep replaying moments in my head, wondering if there were clues I missed. That's natural. But it's not productive. Instead of focusing on what you might have missed, let's focus on how you responded once you discovered the truth. You protected yourself, gathered evidence, took legal action. You handled an impossible situation with intelligence and strength. The validation helped. Over our previous sessions, Dr. Martinez had been teaching me to reframe my thoughts, to challenge the negative self-talk that tried to blame me for Brandon's choices. "I've been thinking about my marriage a lot," I said. "Not just the end but the whole thing. And I'm realizing it wasn't as happy as I thought it was. I was always trying to be the perfect wife, always accommodating, always putting his needs first. I lost myself somewhere along the way. That's an important realization. What are you going to do differently going forward?" "I'm going to prioritize myself. My needs, my wants, my dreams. I spent 8 years building a life around someone who was secretly destroying me. I'm not doing that again." Good. Self-preservation isn't selfish, Naomi. It's necessary. After therapy, I met Terrence for coffee at our usual cafe. We've been doing this twice a week for the past month. Sometimes we talked about heavy things, sometimes we just laughed about random topics. He was becoming one of my closest friends. "How was therapy?" he asked, handing me a latte. "Productive. Dr. Martinez says I'm making good progress." "You seem lighter. Not as weighed down as you were a month ago." "I feel lighter. Like I'm finally coming out of the fog." I took a sip of coffee. "How was your day?" "Busy. The community center project is moving into construction phase. Want to come see the site next week? I'd love to show you what we're building." "I'd like that." We talked for an hour, easy conversation that felt natural and unforced. As we were leaving, Terrence asked, "Do you have plans this weekend?" "Working Saturday morning but free after that." "Why?" "There's a food festival downtown on Sunday. Thought you might want to go. But no pressure if you need downtime." "A food festival sounds perfect. I'm tired of sitting at home brooding." Sunday was bright and sunny, perfect festival weather. Terrence picked me up at noon, and we drove downtown to find the streets blocked off and filled with food trucks and vendor tents. "Where do we start?" I asked, looking at the dozens of options. "Everywhere. We're trying everything." We spent 3 hours sampling food from different trucks. Thai noodles, Mexican tacos, Korean barbecue, Italian gelato. We laughed at how full we were getting but kept trying more. At one point, we ran into some of Terrence's work colleagues. He introduced me simply as, "my friend Naomi," not mentioning my situation or making it awkward. His friends were warm and welcoming, pulling us into their group for a while. It felt normal. For a few hours, I was just a woman at a food festival with friends, not someone going through a traumatic divorce. "Thank you for today," I told Terrence as he drove me home. "I needed this." "Anytime. You know, you're allowed to have fun. Even while going through hard stuff, you're allowed to enjoy life." I'm learning that. At work, things were going well. The board had approved my expansion proposal, and I was scouting locations for a second office. My staff had rallied around me and client relationships were stronger than ever. The scandal that was supposed to destroy my business had actually made it more successful. One of my employees, a young woman named Rita who handled social media for clients, stopped by my office one afternoon. "Naomi, can I talk to you about something personal?" "Of course. Come in." She sat down looking nervous. "I just wanted to say thank you for showing us how to handle a crisis with dignity. My husband has been, well, not great lately. Nothing like what you went through, but seeing how you stood up for yourself, it's given me courage to stand up for myself too." I was touched. "Rita, I'm sorry you're going through something difficult. If you ever need to talk or need time off to deal with personal stuff, just let me know." "Thank you. That means a lot." After she left, I sat thinking about how my personal situation had affected my team. I tried to keep my problems separate from work, but obviously people knew what was happening. The fact that my response had inspired someone else to value herself more, that felt meaningful. 2 months after Brandon's arrest, the divorce hearing finally arrived. I sat with Gloria at the plaintiff's table in the courtroom, watching Brandon's attorney present their case. Brandon himself wasn't there. He was still in jail, unable to make bail after his attempted flight. His attorney argued for a more equitable distribution of assets, claiming Brandon had contributed to my business success and deserved compensation. Gloria demolished those arguments methodically. She presented evidence of Brandon's theft, his affair, his attempted fraud. She showed how he'd actively harmed my business, not helped it. She demonstrated that every asset we had was either purchased with my money or acquired before the marriage. The judge listened to everything, reviewed the evidence, and made his ruling. In the matter of Richardson versus Richardson, I find that Mr. Richardson engaged in marital misconduct including adultery, theft, and fraud. Mrs. Richardson is granted full ownership of the marital home, full ownership of her business and all associated assets, and full restitution of the $95,000 stolen plus interest and damages. Mr. Richardson is granted no alimony, no assets, and no claim on Mrs. Richardson's current or future earnings. The marriage is dissolved effective immediately. It was over. Legally, officially over. I was no longer Mrs. Brandon Richardson. I was just Naomi Richardson, single woman, business owner, survivor. Outside the courtroom, Gloria shook my hand. "Congratulations. That's about as complete a victory as you can get in a divorce. Thank you. For everything. You did the hard part. You gathered the evidence, you stayed strong, you didn't let him manipulate you. I just handled the paperwork." That evening, I had dinner with Terrence to celebrate. We went to a nicer restaurant than usual, and he insisted on ordering champagne. "To your freedom," he toasted. "To new beginnings," I countered. We clinked glasses and drank. The champagne was bubbly and light like my mood. "How does it feel?" Terrence asked. "Being officially divorced?" "Strange. Like closing a chapter of my life. But also relieving. I don't have to deal with Brandon anymore. His problems are his problems now, not mine." "What's next for you?" "I'm opening that second office in 3 months. I'm hiring more staff. I'm taking on bigger clients. I'm building the business I always dreamed of having." "That's exciting. What about personally? What do you want for your life outside of work?" I thought about it. I want to travel. I haven't been anywhere in years. Brandon always said he was too busy. I want to see new places, try new things. I want to figure out who I am when I'm not trying to be someone's wife. Those all sound like good goals. What about you? What do you want? Terrence looked at me steadily. Honestly, I want to keep spending time with you. As friends or maybe someday as something more. But I know you need time. I'm not in a hurry. My heart skipped. I'd been so focused on healing and protecting myself that I hadn't really thought about the fact that Terrence might have romantic feelings. But looking at him now, seeing the kindness in his eyes, the way he'd supported me through everything, I realized I had feelings too. "I'm not ready for a relationship," I said honestly. "But I really value what we have. Your friendship means everything to me." "That's enough. For now, that's more than enough." 3 months after the divorce, I attended Brandon's criminal trial as a witness. I testified about the theft, about discovering the affair, about the attempted fraud. Brandon sat at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, looking thin and tired. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Vanessa Cole also testified, part of her plea deal. She described how Brandon had manipulated her, threatened her, used her as part of his scheme. Her testimony was damaging to his defense. The trial lasted a week. The jury deliberated for 6 hours before returning a verdict. Guilty on all counts. Brandon was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison, with possibility of parole after 5. He was also ordered to pay full restitution plus damages, though given his current situation, I knew I'd never see that money. But the money didn't matter anymore. Justice mattered. Accountability mattered. The fact that he would face consequences for his actions mattered. After the sentencing, a reporter caught me outside the courthouse. "Mrs. Richardson, how do you feel about your ex-husband's sentence?" I thought carefully before answering. "I feel vindicated. I feel relieved. And I feel grateful that the justice system worked the way it's supposed to. My ex-husband made choices that hurt a lot of people. Now he's being held accountable for those choices. That's all I ever wanted. What's next for you? I'm focusing on my business and my future. Richardson Marketing Solutions is expanding, we're hiring, we're growing. I'm excited about what comes next." That night, alone in my house, I finally cried. Not from sadness but from release. It was truly over. Brandon was going to prison, the divorce was final, my business was thriving, and I was free. Free to be myself. Free to build the life I wanted. Free to dream new dreams. I cried for the woman I'd been, who trusted too easily and lost herself in a marriage. And I cried for the woman I was becoming, stronger and wiser and more authentically herself. Then I dried my tears, poured myself a glass of wine and called Terrence. "Hey," he answered. "How are you?" "I'm good. Really good. Want to come over?" "I think I'm ready to talk about the future. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I smiled and hung up. The past was behind me. The future was ahead. And for the first time in a long time, I was excited to see what it held. The months following Brandon's conviction brought a sense of peace I hadn't felt in over a year. The divorce was finalized, the criminal case was over, and I could finally focus on rebuilding my life rather than defending it. My business was thriving in ways I'd never imagined. The new office location opened in May, a bright, modern space in the growing tech district. I hired 3 new employees, all talented and eager. My client roster had grown by 40%, with several major companies specifically seeking us out because of the reputation we'd built for integrity and resilience. "You've turned a scandal into a success story," Diane Chin told me at a board meeting. "That takes real skill." "I just focused on doing good work," I replied. Everything else fell into place. But it was more than that. The experience had changed me fundamentally. I was more cautious but also more confident. I trusted my instincts now, didn't second-guess myself constantly. I'd learned that I was stronger than I ever knew. One Saturday in June, I met with Gloria Hayes for coffee. Not as attorney and client anymore, but as friends. We'd grown close over the months of working together, and I valued her wisdom and straight talk. "How's the restitution process going?" she asked. "Slowly. Brandon has no assets left, so the court is garnishing his prison wages. At the current rate, I'll get back about $20 a month." I laughed. "I'll be 80 before I see the full amount. You could pursue his family for payment." I thought about it. But his parents are retired and struggling themselves. His brother barely makes ends meet. I'm not going to bankrupt innocent people for Brandon's crimes. That's generous of you. It's practical. I've moved on. My business recovered the losses and then some. Chasing money from people who don't have it would just keep me connected to Brandon's mess. I'd rather let it go. Gloria smiled. "You've really come a long way. When you first walked into my office, you were devastated and scared. Look at you now. I had good help. You did the work yourself." That same week, I received a letter from Vanessa Cole. She'd completed her probation and community service as part of her plea deal. The letter was an apology, several pages long, taking full responsibility for her role in the affair and the fraud attempt. "I know I can never undo the harm I caused," she wrote. "I let myself be manipulated, but that doesn't excuse my choices. You didn't deserve what happened to you. I'm working on becoming a better person, someone who doesn't compromise her values for a relationship. I hope someday you can forgive me, but I understand if you can't." I read the letter several times trying to decide how I felt. Vanessa had been a victim of Brandon's manipulation, but she'd also been a willing participant in an affair. She'd helped him access my business information, even if she didn't know the full extent of his plans. Finally, I wrote a short response. I appreciate your apology. I hope you've learned from this experience and that you build a better life for yourself. I'm moving forward with mine. Best wishes for your future. It wasn't forgiveness, not exactly. But it was closure. I could acknowledge her apology without having to absolve her completely. My friendship with Terrence continued to deepen. We spent time together several times a week, attending concerts, trying new restaurants, just hanging out and talking. He'd become my closest friend, someone I trusted completely. One evening in July, we were at his apartment and he'd cooked dinner for us. We were on his balcony afterward, watching the sunset and drinking wine. "Can I ask you something?" Terrence said. "Always." "Are you happy? Really happy, not just okay?" I thought about it. "Yes, I really am. 6 months ago, I couldn't have imagined feeling this content. But I do. I like my life now." "Good. You deserve to be happy. What about you? Are you happy?" "I am. Though I'd be happier if I could tell you something I've been wanting to say for a while." My heart started beating faster. "What's that?" "I'm in love with you, Naomi. I have been for months. I know you needed time to heal and I've tried to be patient. But I don't want to be just your friend anymore. I want more if you're ready for that." I looked at him, this kind, patient man who'd supported me through the worst period of my life. Who'd never pressured me or made demands. Who'd just been there, steady and reliable and caring. "I love you too," I said, surprised to realize it was true. "I think I have for a while, but I was afraid to admit it. Afraid of making another mistake, afraid of trusting the wrong person again. I'm not Brandon. I would never hurt you like that." "I know. And that's why I'm ready to try this. Slowly, carefully, but ready." He smiled and took my hand. "Slow and careful works for me." We kissed for the first time on that balcony, soft and tentative and full of promise. It felt different from Brandon, different from any relationship I'd had before. It felt safe and real and right. Over the next few months, Terrence and I built our relationship with intention and care. We talked about everything, our fears and hopes and boundaries. We didn't rush into anything, just let things develop naturally. In August, I attended Brandon's first parole hearing. I'd submitted a victim impact statement but chose not to attend in person. Gloria represented me instead. The parole was denied as expected. Brandon would serve at least another 4 years before he could apply again. I didn't feel triumphant about it. I didn't feel anything much at all. Brandon was part of my past, a chapter that was closed. His continued imprisonment didn't give me satisfaction because he simply didn't matter to me anymore. In September, Richardson Marketing Solutions celebrated 5 years in business with a party at our new office. My entire staff was there, along with clients, board members, and friends. Terrence came as my date and I introduced him proudly to everyone. Diane Ching gave a toast. 5 years ago, Naomi started this company with a dream and a lot of courage. Over the past year, she's shown even more courage by facing down betrayal and coming out stronger. Richardson Marketing Solutions isn't just successful because of great work. It's successful because of great leadership. To Naomi. Everyone raised their glasses. To Naomi. I looked around the room at all the people who'd supported me, helped me, believed in me. My staff who'd worked extra hard during the crisis. My board who'd backed me unequivocally. My friends who'd kept me sane. And Terrence who'd shown me that love didn't have to hurt. I'd lost so much over the past year. My marriage, my trust, my sense of security. But I'd gained even more. Self-respect, genuine happiness, real love, professional success. I discovered strength I didn't know I had. "Thank you all," I said, standing to respond to the toast. "This company exists because of every person in this room. When things got hard, you all showed up. You worked harder, you trusted me, you believed in what we were building. I'm proud of our success, but I'm more proud of the way we achieved it. With integrity, with teamwork, with resilience. Here's to the next 5 years." More cheers, more clinking glasses. The party continued late into the evening, full of laughter and celebration. Later, when Terrence and I were alone in my office, he pulled me close. "You were amazing tonight." It felt good. Like I finally arrived at the place I was supposed to be all along. "You have. And I'm so glad I get to be here with you." "Me too." We stood there, looking out at the city lights, thinking about the journey that had brought us to this moment. From devastation to hope, from betrayal to trust, from loss to love. It hadn't been easy. There had been nights when I didn't think I'd survive the pain. Days when I wanted to give up. Moments when the weight of it all felt crushing. But I kept going. One day at a time, one decision at a time, one step at a time. And now, standing in my successful business with the man I loved beside me, I could see that it had all been worth it. Brandon had tried to destroy me. Instead, he'd freed me to become the person I was always meant to be. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. 6 months after Brandon's conviction, on a crisp January morning, I stood in the conference room of my company's newest office. The third location opened just last week in a city 3 hours away. Richardson Marketing Solutions had grown from a small firm fighting for survival to a regional powerhouse with 3 offices and 24 employees. The space looks incredible, Terrence said, walking through and admiring the design. He'd helped me find the architect who designed the interior, creating a bright, creative workspace that reflected the company's values. I can't believe how far we've come, I said, looking around at the empty desks that would soon be filled with new hires. You've come far. You built this. We built this. You've been here for all of it. Terrence smiled and kissed my cheek. That's because I'm not going anywhere. We'd been officially together for 6 months, and it was the healthiest relationship I'd ever had. We communicated openly, respected each other's boundaries, supported each other's goals. There was no manipulation, no secrets, no games. Just 2 people who genuinely cared about each other and wanted the best for one another. Back at the main office the next week, I had a meeting with my management team. Rita, who'd confided in me a year ago about her own relationship struggles, was now my operations manager. She'd left her difficult husband and was thriving professionally and personally. Client retention is at 97%, she reported. We've had inquiries from 5 major companies this month alone. We're going to need to hire more account managers to handle the growth. Do it, I said. But make sure we maintain our quality standards. I'd rather grow slowly and do excellent work than grow fast and become mediocre. Agreed. After the meeting, I sat in my office and checked my email. One message stood out from the local business association. They wanted to honor me with their Entrepreneur of the Year award at next month's gala. In recognition of your exceptional leadership, business growth, and demonstration of integrity during challenging circumstances, we are pleased to nominate you for this prestigious award. I stared at the email for a long moment. A year and a half ago, I'd been sitting in a restaurant manager's office, watching security footage of my husband's betrayal, thinking my world was ending. Now I was being honored for my success. I called Terrence to tell him. They want to give me an award. That's amazing. And well-deserved. Will you come with me to the gala? Are you kidding? I wouldn't miss it. I'll wear my best suit and be your proud date. The weeks leading up to the gala were busy. I was juggling 3 offices, major client campaigns, and preparations for the awards ceremony. But I was also happier than I'd ever been. The work was challenging but fulfilling. My relationship with Terrence was deepening. My life felt full and authentic in mine. One evening, I had dinner with Gloria Hayes and Diane Chin. The 3 women who'd been instrumental in saving my business and my life had become genuine friends. I got the invitation to the gala, Gloria said. I'm so proud of you, Naomi. I wouldn't be here without you. Either of you. You would have found a way, Diane said. You're a survivor. A fighter. You just needed some support and guidance. Still, I'm grateful. Both of you changed my life. Gloria raised her wine glass. To strong women who support each other. We all drank to that. Have you heard anything about Brandon? Diane asked carefully. Not in months. Last I heard, he was transferred to a different facility. But I don't really follow his situation anymore. That chapter is closed. Good for you. Moving on is the best revenge. It's not even about revenge anymore. It's just about living my life. The night of the gala arrived. I wore a stunning green gown that Terrence had helped me pick out. He wore a sharp navy suit that made him look incredibly handsome. We arrived at the hotel ballroom where the event was being held, finding our table near the front. The room was filled with business leaders, entrepreneurs, and community members. I saw several clients, board members, and colleagues. Everyone was dressed elegantly, the atmosphere celebratory. When it was time for my award, the association president took the stage. Our Entrepreneur of the Year award recognizes not just business success, but leadership, integrity, and resilience. This year's recipient exemplifies all of those qualities. Over the past 5 years, she's built a thriving marketing consultancy from the ground up. Over the past year, she's faced unprecedented challenges and emerged stronger. She's a role model for ethical business practices and personal strength. Please welcome Naomi Richardson. The room erupted in applause. I stood, smoothing my dress, and walked to the stage. Terrence was clapping loudly, beaming with pride. Gloria and Diane were on their feet cheering. My staff filled an entire table, all applauding enthusiastically. I accepted the award, a beautiful crystal sculpture, and stepped to the microphone. Thank you so much for this honor. A year and a half ago, I faced the biggest crisis of my life. Personal betrayal combined with professional sabotage. There were days when I didn't think I would survive it, days when giving up seemed easier than fighting back. But I had people who believed in me. Attorneys who fought for me. Board members who supported me. Employees who worked harder than ever. Friends who reminded me of my worth. And all of you in this room who continued to trust my business even when others were trying to destroy its reputation. I paused, looking out at the audience. The award says Entrepreneur of the Year, but really, this belongs to everyone who stood by me during the hardest time. To everyone who chose integrity over gossip. To everyone who gave me a chance to prove myself. To everyone who believes that setbacks don't define us. How we respond to them defines us. More applause. I continued. I want every person here, especially the women, to know this. If you're facing betrayal, if someone is trying to tear down what you've built, if you're in a situation that seems impossible, don't give up. Document everything, seek help, stand up for yourself. You're stronger than you think. You're capable of more than you imagine. And you deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, in business and in life. The applause was thunderous now. People were standing. I saw several women wiping tears from their eyes. Thank you again for this incredible honor. I promise to keep building, keep growing, keep showing that ethical business practices and personal integrity are not just admirable qualities but also successful strategies. Here's to all of us continuing to lift each other up and create positive change in our community. I left the stage to continued applause, feeling emotional but strong. Terrence met me at our table with a huge hug. That speech was perfect, he said. You're amazing. I meant every word. After the gala, we went back to my house. We sat on the back patio under the stars, drinking wine and talking about the evening. Can I tell you something? Terrence asked. Anything. I'm falling more in love with you every day. The way you handled tonight, the way you've handled everything, the person you are. I want to be with you and Naomi. Not just dating but really together. Building a future. My heart swelled. I want that too. I'm ready for that. Yeah. You've shown me what real love looks like. Patient, supportive, honest. You've never tried to control me or diminish me. You celebrate my success instead of feeling threatened by it. You're everything I didn't know I needed. So what does that mean for us? It means I'm all in. Whatever the future holds, I want to face it with you. We kissed under the stars and it felt like the beginning of something beautiful. Over the next few months, life continued its upward trajectory. Richardson Marketing Solutions won several major contracts. I was invited to speak at business conferences about ethical leadership and crisis management. The company's reputation grew stronger every day. Terrence and I moved in together, finding a beautiful house with space for both of us to work from home when needed. We adopted a dog, a rescue named Bailey, who brought joy and chaos into our lives. I stayed in touch with Gloria and Diane, meeting regularly for dinners and updates. Gloria's law practice was thriving, and she'd started offering pro bono services to women going through difficult divorces. Diane had fully retired but stayed on my advisory board, providing wisdom and guidance. Rita got promoted again, becoming my chief operating officer. She'd fully rebuilt her life after leaving her difficult marriage and was now dating someone who treated her with respect and kindness. One Sunday afternoon, a year and a half after the divorce, I was cleaning out old files when I found a box of photos from my marriage to Brandon. Wedding pictures, vacation snapshots, casual moments from what I'd thought was a happy life. I looked through them with Terrence beside me. Should I throw these away? I asked. That's up to you. They're part of your history even if they're painful. I thought about it. No, I'll keep them. Not to dwell on but to remember. They remind me how far I've come. How much I've grown. That's healthy. You're not erasing your past. You're just not letting it define your future. Exactly. I put the photos back in the box and stored it in the garage. Acknowledged but not dwelled upon. Part of my story but not the whole story. That evening, Terrence made dinner while I worked on my laptop. Bailey lay at my feet, content and sleepy. The house smelled like garlic and tomatoes, similar to that night at Giovanni's when everything changed, but now the smell brought comfort instead of pain. Dinner's ready, Terrence called. We sat at the table, holding hands briefly before starting to eat. Simple moments like these had become my favorite. No drama, no secrets, no walking on eggshells. Just comfortable, genuine connection. I've been thinking, Terrence said. My company has an opportunity to open an office in Portland. It's a big project, probably a year-long commitment. I'd have to be there part-time, maybe a week each month. That sounds like a great opportunity. I want to do it, but I also don't want to be away from you that much. So I was thinking, what if you came with me sometimes? We could turn some of the trips into mini vacations. Explore the city together. I'd love that. I've been wanting to travel more. Then it's settled. We'll make it an adventure. 3 months later, on a beautiful spring evening, I stood at the grand opening of my 4th office location. This one was in the city where Terrence's Portland project was based, allowing us to spend more time together and giving my company a presence in a new market. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was attended by local business leaders, clients, and media. I made a short speech about growth and opportunity, then cut the ribbon to applause. Afterward, as people toured the new space, Terrence pulled me aside to a quiet corner. "I have something for you," he said, pulling out a small box. My heart started racing. "Terrence, I know we haven't been together that long compared to your previous marriage, and I know you might not be ready for this. But I also know how I feel, and I don't want to wait to tell you." He opened the box, revealing a simple, elegant diamond ring. "Naomi Richardson, you're the strongest, smartest, most incredible woman I've ever known. You inspire me every day. I want to spend the rest of my life supporting your dreams, celebrating your victories, and building a life together. Will you marry me?" Tears filled my eyes. A year ago, the thought of marriage would have terrified me. The word itself carried so much pain and baggage. But looking at Terrence, seeing the love and sincerity in his eyes, I felt nothing but joy. "Yes," I said. "Yes, I'll marry you." He slipped the ring on my finger and we kissed while people around us started noticing and cheering. My staff crowded around, congratulating us. Clients shook Terrence's hand. The evening turned into an impromptu engagement celebration. Later, driving home, I looked at the ring sparkling on my finger. I never thought I'd want to get married again. "Having second thoughts already?" Terrence teased. "Not at all. I'm just amazed at how much my life has changed. 2 years ago, I was trapped in a marriage to someone who was trying to destroy me. Now I'm engaged to someone who wants to build me up. It's almost hard to believe." "Believe it? This is real. We're real." "I know. And I'm so grateful." The wedding took place 6 months later in the fall, a small ceremony in a garden with close friends and family. Gloria was my maid of honor, Diane read a poem, and Rita managed all the logistics. My staff attended, along with Terrence's family and our closest friends. As I walked down the aisle toward Terrence, I thought about the journey that had brought me here. The pain of Brandon's betrayal, the fear and uncertainty, the long process of healing and rebuilding. Every hard moment had led to this one, this perfect moment where I was choosing love again, but this time with wisdom and clarity. "You look beautiful," Terrence whispered when I reached him. "You look pretty good yourself." We said our vows, promising honesty, respect, and partnership. No traditional vows about obedience or submission. Just two equals committing to love and support each other. When the officiant pronounced us married, Terrence kissed me softly and everyone cheered. We walked back down the aisle hand in hand, married, happy, ready for whatever came next. At the reception, Diane gave a toast. "I've known Naomi for over a decade. I've watched her build a successful business, overcome tremendous challenges, and grow into the remarkable woman she is today. Terrence, you're getting someone special. Someone with integrity, strength, and the biggest heart. Take care of her." "I will," Terrence promised. "Every single day." Gloria spoke next. "Naomi came to my office 2 years ago at the lowest point of her life. She could have given up, accepted defeat, let her ex-husband destroy her. Instead, she fought back with intelligence and grace. She taught me that resilience isn't just about surviving hard times. It's about using them to become stronger. To both Naomi and Terrence, may your marriage be everything you both deserve." As the evening continued, I found myself standing alone for a moment, looking out at all the people who'd supported me. My staff, who'd believed in the company even during the scandal. My board members who'd backed me unequivocally. Gloria and Diane who'd helped me fight back and win. And Terrence, my husband, who'd shown me that love could be kind and safe and real. "Happy?" Terrence asked, coming to stand beside me. "Incredibly happy. This feels right in a way my first marriage never did. That's because this is built on truth. No secrets, no lies, just us being exactly who we are. I love who we are." "Me too." We danced under the stars, surrounded by people we loved, celebrating not just our marriage but everything we'd overcome to get here. I'd lost so much over the past few years, but I'd gained even more. I'd gained self-respect, professional success, genuine friendships, and real love. I'd learned that betrayal doesn't define you. How you respond to it defines you. Brandon had tried to break me. Instead, he'd freed me to discover my own strength. As the evening drew to a close and guests started leaving, I stood with Terence, watching the sun set over the garden. "Ready for our honeymoon?" he asked. We were leaving in the morning for 2 weeks in Italy, a trip I'd been dreaming about for years. So ready. Ready for adventure, ready for new experiences, ready for everything. "Then let's go build our life together." "Yes. Let's do exactly that." We walked hand in hand toward our future, leaving the past behind where it belonged. I'd forgotten my purse at a restaurant one night, and that simple act had changed everything. Had exposed the truth, had set me free, had led me here. To this moment. This man. This life. This happiness. And I wouldn't change a single thing.